Let's give it a couple of seconds for apps. Hey, we are back after a very long flight from JFK. We've done it now. We've gone from Tokyo to the United States and then back to Tokyo over the course of the last 2 weeks. And in this episode, I want to talk about the procedures, the things we had to go through at the airport on both sides. My wife and son are asleep, jet lagged, and I'm doing okay. As you can tell, yeah, as you probably know, some of you, when you travel from the United States back to Japan, you get jet lagged in a weird way. You wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning every morning, like it was in the afternoon, with a lot of energy. So I'm sure I'll crash in a couple of hours. So let me explain a little bit about the procedure from the United States to Japan, since that's what a lot of you are probably going to have to go through, and this will give you a good indication when travel opens up what possibly is a situation you'll have to go through. By the way, I am enjoying down here a really delicious sushi. It's one of the first things, this and ramen are one of the first things that you probably want to eat if you haven't been in Japan for a while. Ramen. That's next. Okay, so the procedures to get into to Japan from the United States was pretty hard. Going the other way, I'll explain this at the end, but I just wanted to start off by saying that was super easy and painless. The other way from the United States to Japan, at this time, July 5th, 2022, July 6th, what is it? I think it's even July 7th today, yeah. This is what the procedure is, so I'm sure it's going to change over the next couple of months. We had to get this blue paper on arrival from Japan, and we had to carry this blue paper everywhere in the airport. Once we got off of the plane, the moment we disembarked, we had to get there was somebody there to give us this paper. That was interesting to me. Like, they were holding your hand from the moment you exited. Like, literally, we come off the plane, we're in the tube to get out, and before we even got to the gate, while we're still in that tunnel to get to the gate, the one that they use with the little robot arm and get to the gate, there's somebody in there giving you checking your app and making sure that you have all the correct paperwork and separating those that have not finished it and those that have. That was super interesting to me. So this app that I have on the screen behind me, this is called the My SOS app. You can see right there, it's a red app. If I turn off the app, usually it will come back up. There you go. That's it right there. It has a ton of confirmations that you have to do to get through the menu. You have to pick the country in which you want to use it, which is probably Japan. And again, you can see me scrolling on the back here. So there's a ton of confirmations, and then you have to enter in your passport information. But you can see the interface there takes the data, the information that Japan requires, and puts it in a really nice package for them. So on arrival, it's super easy. Now it starts off as red. And my app is actually on this phone, so I can't show you exactly what it looks like, and I probably wouldn't anyways, because hey, WRX Server's in the house. Oh, that's awesome. And Tortoro Poco, welcome home. I hope you and your family enjoyed the trip. We did. We're so glad to be home. After you enter in your passport and all this information, there are 4 things that you need to get in order to return back to Japan. Let me just keep this on. The first thing that you need to do is to register your passport. Yeah, there you go. Register your passport and all this information on the app. The second thing you want to do is to get your vaccination paperwork and have that ready, because you have to insert this into the app with proof. So I'm glad that before we departed, we went to the city office here in Japan, and we had an official document printed out with all our first 2 shots, and then our booster shot was listed there with the type of the maker, the type, the date. It was all very official looking on this piece of paper with a QR code on it. And after you enter in your passport information and you've gone through all the checklists, you have to take a picture of that and upload it via the app to Japan. So basically, there's a government official that is on the other end of this. They verify the document that you've uploaded. So if you're an American citizen and you have some sort of documentation on your shot, you can upload those photos via the app, and they're just going to look at those pictures and verify it. So they want everything basically verified before you enter Japan. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute, why this is such an advantage um, at this time, anyways. So we had that from Japan, Kanai and myself, and we took the pictures and we uploaded it. And within 4 or 5 hours, somebody on the other side had verified it, and that step was completed. So we had verified that we had been vaccinated. If you're unvaccinated, you can't use this app, and therefore you won't be able to be fast tracked to get through. And that's what this app pretty much is. The My SOS app is basically a fast track option to get through all of the procedures. And I have a feeling that's going to be around for a while. So you're going to want to get comfortable with this. Hey, Michael. Michael Sasano's here. That's great to see. I haven't been live streaming in ages. It's so great to be back. We did one when we were in the U.S., but I kind of took a little bit of a holiday. It's nice to be back and jet lagged because the first half of the day I'm so productive. A lot of stuff I got done this morning. Anyways, back to the situation here. JJ Johnson, how you doing? Thank you. I hope this is useful for everybody because I didn't know a lot of this stuff when we departed, and it didn't pop because these procedures are changing. It wasn't really useful, the information, until we actually left, and about a week before we returned, then we checked the information to make sure that we had everything. Because again, these policies and procedures are changing so fast. So after we had verified our vaccination certificates, that's step one. We get a little check mark. It's checked off on the app. Next, you have to do a pledge. The pledge, it's just a bunch of stuff that you don't really have to do if you're coming from the United States. Basically, they've separated the world into certain colors, and I believe we were in the color that was able to come into Japan without any quarantining whatsoever. Most of the countries are now in that situation where you can just go to Japan without any quarantining, without any PCR tests on arrival, if you do the fast track, which is great. So I just want you to make sure you check the MOFA, which is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website, to see if your country is fast tracked or not. And then if you can, then you can use this and get in really quickly. Again, if you're not vaccinated, you cannot use the fast track. You have to go through the quarantine and the PCR test on arrival situation, which takes a lot of time. I don't know if they're going to have this later on. So I did the pledge. That was really easy. So those two were pretty simple steps because we'd prepared for this in advance. The third step was a lot harder, and this was a critical one. Right now, at this current time, Japan requires a PCR test and a proof of negative that you're not coronavirus, you're not infected 72 hours before the flight, which makes no sense to me because you could have been infected 48 hours before and the test would have. You get what I'm saying? It's just a bureaucratic procedure that is really the hardest thing that we had to do on the entire trip. It was painful. I was freaking out. I was panicking. I'm thankful for my friend Ellis, who lives up in North Jersey, and David, who were able to scout this out and help me out and give me ideas. Basically, Japan. So Kanai this is Kanai and Leo's passports. Kanai is a Japanese national. She's not American. So to go to any of the CVS or Walgreens or Rite Aid, a lot of the pharmacies in the United States offer PCR testing for travel. They're for American citizens only, though, because you have to book these all online. There's nothing you can do, no workaround, like a human element to it. It's all automated. And they require a US ID, like a driver's license or a state ID, in order to be PCR tested. And I'm guessing it's because it's subsidized by the local or federal government or something. I'm not sure. But each test is roughly $130 for a PCR test. The turnaround time is 1 to 2 days. We were doing it on the July 4th holiday, so there was a lot of risk involved with doing it. So it wasn't the perfect option, but with about 65 hours out, I went to CVS and tried to do a walk-in, and they wouldn't allow us to do it. I could schedule an appointment, but Kanai couldn't because they required a state ID. In fact, you'd have to park your car outside of the CVS or Walgreens and somebody would come and bring you the package after you showed them your ID. So that's how strict that they were. So it was impossible for Kanai to get a PCR test. Leo, who is 15 months old, cannot be tested. So if you're traveling to Japan with a toddler or a child under 4 years of age, you do not, I repeat, you do not need to get a PCR test to enter Japan with a baby. Um, and it's really confusing because there's no solid information on this. So we had to like dig it out, which was again part of this painful procedure. So we have 60 hours left, and we're freaking out because we can't get a simple PCR test at the hospital. We can't get a PCR test at a pharmacy. So we didn't know what to do. We thought maybe we'd be able to get the PCR test at the airport, but our flight was at 3 p.m. We'd have to check in at like noon, and I didn't want to go to the airport at 9 a.m. To be honest with you, 6 hours in advance, that just ruins everything. On top of that, you have a 14-hour flight, which took exactly 14 hours because there was a delay. So what we did was we went to another airport that had PCR tests. We went to Newark Liberty International Airport, which is very convenient on the New Jersey Turnpike if you're coming from New Jersey or around there. I think that's a lot easier to get to than to JFK Airport. And inside of the Newark Liberty Airport, there was a place. Let me show you the video of it that allowed us to do a 45-minute PCR test. Here it is, right. Oh, this is the one at JFK. This is it right here behind me. This is the Liberty. This is the domestic arrivals Terminal 3 in Newark, and this place did a PCR test for us within 45 minutes. And the document that they gave me was in Japanese. It was the official form that they filled out, which was super useful. So I was glad that we did it there. However, and this is what makes no sense to me, this PCR test is ridiculous to be able to do it, to have to do this 72 hours before the flight. I can understand why. You should probably do it like right before you get on the plane, I think. Then maybe it has some value to test the other passengers around you. But 72 hours before, there are people coughing and sneezing, and it's still, it's an airplane flight. There's nothing you can really do about it. At this stage, people aren't getting hospitalized, we were walking around the U.S., I did it in the episode before this, almost nobody had masks on. You get over it. You get sick, okay, you have to get over it. But in Japan, it's a different mode and a different way to approach this, which makes it very expensive. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that it costs me and Kanai, but both of us, it cost us $500, $250 each for this PCR test. I repeat, $250 each to have this 45-minute turnaround PCR test that was accepted by the government of Japan to have no issues. There's advantages, I guess, to it. The advantage is that we were done in 45 minutes. The documents were perfect. We took a picture of it, and it's pretty crazy, right? We get in here, that's nuts. I'm looking at Dylan rates, and that's nuts. Absolutely was. $500. We got the documents, and the people at this place, the lady here was not so nice. She looked like she was asleep half the time, but the nurses and the staff there were super friendly, super nice. I know that they're not associated with the pricing of it. We didn't give them any grief. The price is the price. They did an extremely good job, and they understood that travelers have a lot of stress on them, and we were very happy to have friendly people working at these booths here. It is a pretty good business that they have, though. And I hope that they're getting paid very well, because when you're at risk like this, it can be a pretty stressful, hazardous job, I guess. But we got the papers. I took pictures of it, uploaded it via the app. Within 10 hours, we had been registered. So we were done. We didn't have anything else. We had a pledge. We had our passport information. We had our vaccine shots, and then we had our 72 hours before the flight vaccination proof, all uploaded via the app, those documents. The app turns from, hold on a second, turns from this red color to blue. And when you have a blue color, the airline doesn't even really check. They just want to see the app, and then if you show the app and it looks blue and it says you're registered, that's all they want to see. You don't even need the paperwork. We weren't asked to show the paperwork at all to the airlines or to Japan when we entered, because it was all photographed and verified before we arrived. This is the beauty of it all. So at the airport at JFK, we didn't really have to do anything except show that app that we were registered, and we went through all of the procedures needed. That was really the best part. What kind of stunk was that one suitcase was over the weight limit, and we had to shift that into another bag, but that's another story. And it's a little bit strict, but it worked out okay. By the way, it's $60 if one of your bags overweight to have to pay for that. So we saved $60 by shifting it around. Thank you, ANA. You made that very painless to do that. I really appreciate that. All right, so we got onto the airplane. We went to the lounge. See, the weird thing is that when we arrived at JFK 2 weeks before the trip, in the arrivals, nobody had masks on. It was except for staff. Everybody at the arrivals was maskless, and it was like a culture shock for us. We had masks on, but nobody else did. My dad was waiting there, no mask, and that that's the way that people do it in the U.S., and that's cool. In fact, we got pretty used to not wearing a mask, and it was hard for us to return after 2 weeks of not having to wear one. Again, hospitalizations, I think there were only 8 people in the entire city of Tokyo that are in a hospital for COVID right now, so it's not really too much of an issue. But going into the departures at JFK, masks were required, and although a lot of people had them on, but most of them didn't have it on. Like it was down here, or there were 4 girls that were backpacking, had no masks on. And I don't know, this wasn't an issue for us so much. It was just a curiosity. The TSA didn't ask anybody to put their masks on. So they have signs and saying to wear a mask. Nobody will force you to wear the mask in JFK. Now, when you got on the airplane, it was a lot stricter, and they make announcements via automated, so it's not actually the flight attendant, it's like an automated announcement, so it's all impartial. That although some countries might have looser masks rules, ANA and the flight asks everybody except when eating to wear a mask, and they played that several times during the flight, and I think that caught some non-Japanese off guard a little bit, and for the most part people had masks on, but I think if you're sitting close to someone who's sick, it's not going to make much of a difference, but I think it makes people feel more comfortable, and that's a big deal, especially to the Japanese passengers. Again, there was a guy that was sort of coughing behind us, which makes me a little bit scared, but he passed through, and he had the same procedures that we had to go through, so everything was fine. Then we arrived into Japan, and that's the way it goes. I had my American passport, and I had this piece of paper, and we sped right through. We were fast passed. Because we were traveling with a child, Leo had to go. Everybody went to the left side. We went to the right, and we thought, we got flagged. But actually, it was the opposite. So before you make any arguments, like, no, I want to go with the other people. I know that this seems bad when you get pulled to the side. That's the worst of the worst, right? You pull to the side. Okay, wait, this is bad. What are they profiling me or something? I don't know. But it was actually a good thing. So sometimes it's going to work out to your advantage. We got pulled around to where there's an area where there's no people, and they gave us, they checked our paperwork, and then they checked the QR code that comes associated with the app, and we had to touch it to a scanner, and then after that, beep, we were through. They said, arigatou gozaimashita. And we walked through there, and then we could see the other passengers were queuing up, and because we had a baby with us, we went right through, which was super, super useful. So sometimes getting pulled aside is not bad. You just have to be a little patient and let the procedure, let it do its thing. The thing with Japan is that they've thought out this process pretty good, so it's almost like a factory line. All right, so after we've gotten through there, we go all the way to immigrations, and my wife is a Japanese citizen, so I'm American, So she can come with me. And if you're Japanese and watching this, take note. If you're going with someone who's American and is like your husband or your wife, you can go to the You don't have to go to the foreigner line, which is awfully long. You can go with the American citizen and go in together as family. So you don't need to go through that massive line. It makes no sense to separate a family. And it was the same thing here. But my wife came to the foreigner line, and I had to do the two fingers and get my picture taken, while Leo and Kanai just watched me do that. And it's kind of I don't know. It feels like degrading a little bit to give your fingerprints and then take a picture like a criminal. I don't. It just sort of uncomfortable, but it's the procedure. I don't complain about it. I'm just telling you what it is like. All right, maybe it's a little bit of a complaint, but hey, you do this and you look at the camera and you're back home. It's over after a minute. You don't care, and that's it. I think we had to show them this. I don't remember, but now it just becomes a memory. This is what the paper looks like. So you can see it. It says here, Japanese government quarantine service official, and please show it to the immigration officer. So there you go. And that blue paper is what you need to get in. And don't take a screenshot and try to Xerox copy it. You're just gonna get in trouble. All right. They literally will hand you the paper if you already have it. That's very suspicious. Okay. So don't try to do it. I'm like wondering if I should have showed that to you at all. So we got our bags. It was, you know what? I thought it was going to be a lot more challenging, but getting that 72-hour before flight PCR test was tough, because we had to drive a long way to the airport. It's just not fair that foreign nationals can't get PCR tested without U.S. ID. It doesn't make sense. A PCR test is a PCR test, I guess, but it's not. So anyways, we got it done. We got our PCR test 60 hours before the flight, so everything was good. We're feeling good, so I don't think we got sick or anything. We survived. Okay, yeah, sure, we got jet lag, but that's part of traveling. I will take some questions here if you have any. I hope that this is useful information for those that watched all 22 minutes. You are incredible. And yes, that's my stuffed animal I brought from home 45 years ago. Still in one piece, which is pretty cool. Frumpy is what his name is. Don't sell copies to other passengers. Yes, please, don't do that. By the way, at Haneda Airport, I'm guessing that some foreign nationals thought that it was possible to take someone else's residence card and passport and enter. And let me tell you right now, don't do it, because they had public service announcements through the airport to tell in English to tell foreigners not to enter on somebody else's residence or card or passport. You will be arrested and deported, and fined a ridiculous amount of money. And I'm guessing they only show that because somebody tried to do it, which is pretty cheeky. So don't try to enter on somebody's residence card, or fake it too, because these residence cards are not like student IDs. Okay, they're pretty solid government official, government dispersed identification. You need to register. There's like a lot of security checks involved. Someone else used somebody. Yes, somebody else used RUS. Somebody else uses somebody else's residence. For example, if you have a residence card and you're leaving Japan, you just say that you're not coming back, or saying that you're coming back but you're not coming back, and your visa doesn't expire until the date. So technically, somebody could use that in an illegal fashion, but of course you need the passport associated with it. But that's just ridiculous and dangerous and dumb. So don't do it. Yeah, shout out. Thank you, Nightbot. The Blu-rays for the hitchhiking trip are being sold inside the United States. They only take a couple of days to arrive if you're from the U.S. and a little bit longer if you're abroad, but they're being sent from the United States right now. So if you want a Blu-ray for my hitchhiking trip in 2017, they're available, and it's an amazing 2.5-hour adventure with a director's audio, which will explain what's going on. So if you want to see the entire country of Japan through hitchhiking, that's there. Thanks, Nightbot. Thank you, Bela. Do you have to quarantine in Japan or Korea? Frank Wu writes in here. 0 quarantine. Again, this is all brand new. Kanai and I exited the airport. That's it. As long as you have this, you're pre-registered, you have no COVID, you can go right through. There's no PCR testing if you've pre-registered for this. There's no PCR test upon arrival either. 0 quarantine, no PCR test on arrival in Japan if you're fast-tracked with the My SOS app, which is right here. If you aren't fast-tracked, I don't know what happens to you. I have to be honest with you. I'm guessing that if you're not fast-tracked or you're not vaccinated, you have to go, you get another piece of paper. I think it was, I can't remember, was it yellow or pink? And maybe it's like yellow is like you're partially registered on the My SOS app, or pink meaning nothing. And if you go in there, I believe they took everybody that was not fast-tracked into a separate area, and I'm guessing that's where you would go to get PCR tested, and it's probably going to take you 3 to 5 hours, was what I had heard, because there's a lot of tests being administered. They could have streamlined that, but you don't need to be vaccinated to enter Japan. You just need to be vaccinated to be fast-tracked into Japan. And I'll tell you what, after the 14-hour flight, you want to be fast-tracked, because we were so tired. I wanted to do a live stream at Haneda Airport to see if any foreign tourists were coming in through this package tour thing, but we were just so exhausted, and we were traveling with a baby. I'm like, just, you know what, take a picture, tell people you're home, and we'll do this live stream tomorrow. You'll need the PCR receipt too. Yeah, you know what, if you, even though we took a picture and we uploaded it to the app, make sure that you keep all of your paperwork. Don't throw it out. Keep all of your paperwork just in case, because they might want to see that. Japan is a country that respects paperwork. Official documents, they love it. All right? So have as many official documents as you possibly can. Just it's not worth throwing out those papers. So get receipts for everything. If you get a PCR test, get a receipt. Always keep documentation, especially something important like this for this era anyways. And then maybe in a couple of years you can throw it away. Take pictures of it. I don't know, make copies of it, digital copies, whatever. It's really good to have. The thing is, the great thing about this app and registering in advance is that you know if your documentation is good or not good before you arrive. This is important, because imagine you arrived in Japan, the airline said it was okay, you got to Japan, and the government says that it's not okay. This would be a complete disaster, and you'd have to get a flight back, and Japan would make you do that. But this My SOS app that you see right there, that makes me confirm a bunch of stuff here. It's really good, and it just takes the pain out of the procedures to enter into Japan. I believe you have to agree to being tracked through this app. So there's a lot of privacy issues. Maybe you might not want to take, but it's there. We don't. I'll probably delete the app now, to be honest with you, because I don't have any plans to travel for a while. But as long as you have the documentation, you can use this app, and it's really, really useful. John, you're looking good, dude. It could be I got a lot of sunshine and a lot of rest, and I didn't drink a lot of alcohol, and I did eat a lot of pizza and not healthy stuff, so that could be why maybe I'm smiling a little bit more, a little bit more rested. Motorcycle, welcome back, John. I'm glad you're safe. Looking forward to you and Peter's motorcycle ride. Speaking of that, and we have Tokyo Sam, who's also a motorcycle rider here. I'm just finishing up the logo and the Kickstarter video. I really got almost nothing done when I was in the US, and maybe that's another reason why I look a little bit rested. I got nothing done. So Peter and I are meeting up tomorrow to do the finishing touches, but the trip is already outlined. We're doing motorcycles for 5 days and a camper car for 4 days for the long stretches, because it's just kind of crazy to do a 500-kilometer like really long rides on a motorcycle. It's not that much fun, I think. And we wanted to rent this RV, so it's a big RV. I almost said big ass RV, but it's a big RV, and we're gonna be taking that through the big loop and the motorcycles with another loop of Hokkaido. It's gonna be amazing. Everything, all the accommodations are done. We're just doing the Kickstarter to try to raise funds for it, but we're going to do it anyways. So that's not an issue. But we do hope that we can raise enough money to pay off some of the stuff that would be associated with this trip, and maybe make a little bit more. Who knows? We will make a documentary. Motorcycle. I need this right here. Motorcycle 7. We'll make it a pretty incredible documentary. We got drones. We have actually, um, we got a discount. I think we're getting a discount on. I don't know. Peter's in charge of that, on some of the motorcycle clothing, and I believe that company is going to, uh, um, someone's going to film us for a day, so that we get like kind of a cameraman, I guess, out of it, for one of the days. But we're gonna need somebody to help. We have an assistant booking all this stuff, so there are some costs associated to it. We've been trying to limit the amount of money that would be needed for it, but it is actually more expensive than I thought to rent a motorcycle. I think it's about $150 to $200 a day or something. Not sure. Peter's in charge of that part, but we're gonna see him tomorrow and discuss the final details before we launch the Kickstarter. So there'll be the Kickstarter will go through the trip, so it doesn't end just because the trip has ended. We'll keep going through there, and there'll be a good solid month to try to raise funds for this and share. We're gonna do, I think, Tengui, which are these, the Karate Kid bandanas. I believe we're gonna make a few hundred Karate Kid bandanas and sell those. We have Dakota, who's done the artwork for our other Kickstarter projects. Dakota is doing a motorcycle art with a big demon, which are the Oni at the onsens chasing us on our motorcycles, and I told them to put melons and other things that are associated, some Ainu art. So it's going to be a really incredible design. This motorcycle trip, what I want to do personally, it's not just about the motorcycle trip. It's about kind of discovering Hokkaido in a different way, and I want to focus on the Ainu culture, learn a lot more about it. I've kind of gotten to know it a little bit through traveling through Hokkaido, but this time we want to stop off at some of the newer Ainu museums that are doing a really good job of promoting the culture, and add this into the documentary to give it a really special look at the land that we drive through. That was originally, the land of the Ainu people, who are the indigenous people of Hokkaido in Japan. So we want to give them, their due for sure, and try to share as much information that we discover about it, as well as eat a lot of delicious food and show you the camping and the motorcycle life up there. If you have any feedback on that, I would love to hear it from you in the comments, because we can always use some more advice on places to stop and rider houses and things like this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Any other questions before we end this? I'm really thankful that you guys made it to this long time no see live stream. Iken's here. I'm looking forward to the motorcycle trip. Who's driving the RV? We both are. We'll both be driving the RV. I don't think you need a truck license or anything like that. I hope not. A tractor's license. Vic is here. How you doing? And Frank Wu. Japan should open the tourists, ease the masks like the USA. Peso, thanks for being a member for 26 months as well. When it comes to Japan opening up, I just want you guys to understand that Japan has their own way to do things, and you don't have to agree with it, but never argue about it either. Never get angry, especially when you enter Japan, about the procedures. It is what it is, and it's probably all political, whatever. The steps are there, and the easiest way to get from A to Z is just to go through all the hurdles. It's pretty easy to do. I can't say that it doesn't make an impact, but it seems like it's just kind of a waste of time. But I can also not say that it doesn't make an impact. Just a little bit. I don't know, but I think that in a couple of months after this election, which I think it finished already, maybe these procedures will go away, and things are only going to get easier. Basically, when this Omicron hit in November of 2021, they shut down again, and they've been making it easier and easier and easier. Every step has been easier. We didn't have to quarantine this time. We didn't have to do a PCR test on arrival this time. We went from the gate to our luggage and into a taxi in less than 30 minutes, which is great. So if there's anything that I can leave you with this is that we went from the preparing everything on the app was painful, but once we'd done that, from the gate to the taxi, it took us 30 minutes, and that's pretty darn good. In the United States, coming from Japan to the U.S., the procedures were really easy. At the ANA gate at Haneda Airport, we had to sign some documents. Kanai had to do some more documents because she's not American. And that's it. We arrived in the U.S. as though there was no pandemic. It was awesome in a way, but kind of scary because there was this dude who was just hacking up, and it's like, yeah, I felt bad for the people around him. Luckily we were in premium economy and we moved through the line faster than everybody else. Leo was attached to my chest in a baby harness, and we booked. I always I don't want to be downwind. I did an African safari in 2001, and the one thing that our guide said was the elephants can smell you downwind, so we have to be, upwind, so we have to be on the other side of the wind, so the elephants don't know we're around. Same thing with people. I like to get off of the subways, on crowded subways. I like to be first and get up those steps and not have to get all the downwind, thousands of people. You don't know what's in that wind. I'm being silly. So that's it. If you do have any questions about this, anytime, feel free to leave a comment, and I do scout these out in the first couple of days. We have a Discord community, and we talk about this stuff. It's changing all the time, and I know that a lot of you have been waiting to get to Japan. Some of you might even given up on Japan, but if you're watching this, you probably haven't given up on Japan. You just feel like you have, but you're still watching. Things are getting better. I didn't see any other travelers, just residents of Japan and citizens, and a couple of business travelers. The lounge had some business travelers there. On the plane, oh, I'm glad. I wish that Kanai was here because she can think of the stuff that I forget. All right, a lot of people. I'm just gonna move over here because it looks like there's something really important. So there's a lot of people that were on the plane before we even got on. These are people that were in transit. So if you are in transit and you're going through Narita or Haneda, I don't know if you actually leave the plane. So this is very interesting news. This is breaking news. When we left, they announced that everybody who's a resident of Japan or planning to stay in Japan, please leave. If you are transferring, please stay on the plane. So transfers could not deplane with us. There's a totally different procedures, and I don't think you can go anywhere inside of the airport. I'm not sure, but I got the idea, and this was about half of the plane. Americans were transferring to go to another area of the world with ANA. They were just flying through Haneda. They bundle you up into this special group and probably take you with a liaison to your plane. That's my guess. The other people that were around me that had to stay had no idea what they were going to do. So yeah, a lot of the people in the business class, the business travelers that were traveling through, when we deplaned, there were still a lot of business travelers sitting in their business travel seats. So did you hear the rumor that Japan is possibly going to allow remote working visas either this year or next year? I doubt it, but I don't know if they are, but I'll tell you this. I've been getting a lot of requests from local areas to do episodes on working holidays. So I think that's sort of a big theme of 2023. And I think that those that are coming to Japan, the costs and the pain to come in here is quite high. It's getting better. You probably want to stay for more than 2 weeks. So doing a working holiday is probably a good idea. I don't know if those rumors are true, but I would say that from the feeling I'm getting from the requests to do working holiday material, it could be. You know what I mean? So there you go. So I'll move you back in this the position because I gave you my little secret information. I thought that was interesting. So the transfers had to stay on the plane. And no, if you transfer, you cannot go into Japan. And no, Japan is not a visa-free country anymore. You need a visa to come here if you're a tourist. And no, I didn't see any tours on the plane. Zero. The plane was full with returnees, Japanese citizens, and business travelers, and people traveling through to other countries. Could we get a K car video? John, I'm working on that. I got a lot of there's a lot of stuff happening. Everything's delayed because I got nothing done in the U.S. on the main channel. It's like I think I edited maybe 1 minute of the melon video, which is absolutely awful. So I'm way behind. But I have this summer I have 7 location shoots already scheduled. Seven location shoots scheduled in different places around Japan this summer. That's July and August. So I'm gonna be really busy, especially in August. It's crazy with the Hokkaido motorcycle trip. It's gonna be insane. Yeah. So there you go. No quarantining. The My SOS app makes it pretty easy. Kanai and I are doing fine. Kanai and Leo are still asleep. I bought Kanai some sushi. Mine is getting warmer. Look at that! Look at that! Isn't this? It's the most beautiful thing. I dedicate this to our whole community. I will eat this with happiness, and to Motosako 7, we'll be eating some sushi for you on the trip. Gosh, look at that ikura! Oh my gosh, real sushi. Oh gosh, you don't know how much I've been dying for this. You can smell it. It doesn't smell much. It smells more like the seaweed. A good sushi doesn't smell like fish. It's really good. So I'm going to eat this now for lunch. We'll do another live stream. Actually, I have a video. I took a lot of video about traveling with a toddler, using the bassinet for ANA in particular. They're a lot stricter than a lot of the other airlines. The child can't be more than 22 pounds or 10 kilograms. And Leo was 9.6 or something. And I hope that he didn't gain weight. I think he lost it from running around. But it was an interesting experience to travel with a toddler, and I took a lot of video, and I'm going to use that into an Only in Japan Go informational video with Kanai's help to explain to you some of the stuff we had to go through, because there wasn't still enough information on this for travelers that are coming and going with kids. It's just a completely different way to travel. And no, we didn't get a lot of sleep. And yes, we did get a chance to enjoy the trip a little bit. Oh, you know what? I can show you just a little bit. Here's this is the bassinet, and you can see Leo was crying, but he was sleeping. He's crying because he's sleepy, and it does look like he's a little Purdue chicken, frozen chicken, like a turkey, in this basket. Except the turkey's still alive because you can see the eyes and it's creepy. And his legs are sticking out on the other side. Sleepy crying is normal. It is. I sometimes will sleep and cry too. Sometimes I can't sleep and I cry. It's the same thing, I remember. Look at the legs sticking out. Did you see the legs sticking out? That's so funny. But this was such a great thing to have, and we were able to take advantage of the premium economy seats. But I think if you have a baby over 2 years old, you probably just want to get a third economy seat, and I don't know, then you can sleep a little bit better. Use the car seat or something. But if you can use the bassinet, use it, because my gosh, it really helped out a lot with space, and he slept pretty well, actually. No clock. We didn't need the clock. He actually, Katayama, he's sleeping pretty good without the clock now. The clock's more for me now. But yeah, it did make a big impact. He needed some sort of background sound. And the sound of the air, he didn't really mind that. Actually, if he's snacking on something while we were going up, he didn't cry because of the air pressure. But when we were coming down into Tokyo, that was the only time of the 4 ascents and descents that he cried, because he wasn't eating on something because of the air pressure in his ears. Doesn't know how to deal with that yet. But maybe he's a pro now. I don't know. but he didn't want to drink the juice because of his ears hurt, and so for about 3 minutes he was freaking out, and the flight attendant came, and come over here for a second. I gotta tell you this, all right? Leo is kind of a ladies' man, ladies' boy. He seems to find the women, and he approaches them or talks to them. Our waitress, we went to a restaurant to get waffles for breakfast when we were in Vermont, and the waitress was blonde, and he was just fascinated with her. Too much. And on the playground, there were other American kids, and he would run into the girls. Just saying. Thought it was funny. He knows what he wants. He wants just to play. You know, I'm making more out of it than it is, but he just wants to play. But with girls. I thought that was funny. I have video to prove it too, so I don't need to prove it. Tomorrow I'll be meeting up with PBG, and we'll be talking a little bit about the Hokkaido trip, as well as catch up because it's been a few weeks. But the live streams are back, and he's a stud like his pappy. Oh, I am not. Trust me. I am not. I'm awful. In fact, it took forever to ask, can I out on a date? And one day we'll even, I'm awful. So he's way better than me. I'm actually jealous of his ability to not be shy around, pretty girls. It's actually quite, I hope he stays like this, because he's going to do fine in high school. He has to make up for my deficiencies there. I think he will. Serious talk. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. We're having fun here. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back with PBG tomorrow. And this month's postcard on the Patreon is the Ubadi melon harvest. I'm inside of one of the greenhouses showing you a family harvesting the beautiful Ubadi melons. That's available on Patreon. See everybody.